So, how did Riley Hospital get started? First of all, there was a big need for a children's hospital. There was no children's hospital in Indiana. When James Whitcomb Riley, very famous poet, back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, he was as famous as Mark Twain. When he died in 1916, his famous friends got together.
And they said, we need to build a children's hospital. And at that time, they kind of built almost what would be considered an extended care facility for children. One of the great things about those founders is that they said all children, regardless of their skin color or their religion or their ability to pay, will be cared for here, which is a really important piece of our foundation and something we honor to this day.
If you go back to the 1930s, visiting hours at most hospitals were 2 hours or 4 hours on Sunday, maybe. You know, many of us can't imagine how it would have been back then, but of course times were different then.
My name is Annalee McGee, and I'm a polio survivor, and I am 89 years old. I was admitted to Raleigh Hospital in 1944. I lost all use of everything. I couldn't sit up, I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't move my legs, I couldn't move my hands, my arms. It's very scary. And so then, of course, right away I was started with treatments. I was in the hospital approximately 8 months without being able to get out and go out and do anything. We were only allowed 2 visitors per week. That was on Sunday. I had 3 brothers at that time. So my father waited in the car for my mother to come in and see me. And so that was kind of hard too. You just had to accept it. I mean, that was the only thing that they were going to be able to do.
That was the way it was everywhere around the country. But if you don't take care of the whole family, what's going to happen to the kid when they go home? The patient isn't a heart problem or a kidney problem. The patient exists as part of the family, and without focusing on the family, we can't really do the right job for the kid.
Dr. Morris Green was way ahead of his time in all things pediatrics and really envisioned family-centered care, and that's how he approached his own individual practice. I can remember, being in clinic with him as a medical student and him saying, you have to focus on the child, but you have to understand the child doesn't exist in isolation. And if you don't really understand the family dynamic and everything that's going on and address that, you will not help the child. So, that was 50 years ago before anybody was talking about family-centered care.
And he had this idea of developing a unit called the Parent Care Unit, the Baxter Parent Care Unit, where families, before they go home, especially if they had kids with complex problems, they could live in with their child in a hotel-like room, and the parents could learn how to take care of their kid. And it was a spectacular unit, first in the country, and copied elsewhere all around the country.
And so a Parent Care Unit was kind of a picture of what he felt. Let's take care of the whole family, and let's do it under our supervision, let's do it correctly. And I thought that concept was really, at that time, just a revolutionary concept.
That whole approach was really grounded in Dr. Green's and Margaret Martin's solid philosophy that they never wavered from. They just knew this was right. And no matter how wealthy or poor, whatever ethnicity or nationality or religion, level of education and schooling, we learn that we're the same. And we should be all caring for each other just the same. Sorry.
I'm Marcos Collado. I'm the Director of Spiritual Care and Chaplaincy Services at Riley Children's. The family center care, it is something that it is at the heart of who Riley is. We recognize that the old adage of it takes a village to raise a child, that is very true. Not only to raise a child, but also to help a family move through a time of illness and crisis. The medical team can provide medication and do surgeries and all of that, but there is then everything else. How do you live with this now? How do you live with the fact that now I have a chronic illness? So I think that wraparound services, such as our teachers, our creative art therapies, child life specialists, we are all part of the team.
So as a child life specialist, the heart of what we do is family-centered care. So we meet a family where they're at. So we work with parents, caregivers, grandparents, siblings, and the patient, and we learn about them. Who are they as humans? Who are they as people outside of the hospital? And then we bring that into their hospital experience. So sometimes we might hang a sign on a patient's door that all about me, and it might say their favorite color and their favorite television show, but it also might say what is their comfort item, what's their preferred language, how do they prefer to take their medicine. And so we use that to create an experience that's centered around them and their family versus their experience being centered around the hospital.
Riley Children's Hospital will open up its new maternity tower in just a few weeks. It replaces the Methodist Maternity Center. The new ward has 4 floors of space devoted to infant and maternal care at every stage of pregnancy. Officials with the hospital say the main goal is to keep babies with their moms as long as possible. Moms can now have their children in their rooms after delivery and if they need intensive care.
When I think of family-centered care, it makes me think of the paper chain we have hanging in Nicholas's nursery. It started when I was in the maternity tower before Nicholas was even born. We filled out a paper for every day through his NICU journey and all the way till it followed him home. So now we have a visual reminder every day of that lovely journey. So when I went to my 24-week appointment, I got high blood pressure out of nowhere. I got as far as 26 weeks, and then they said it wasn't safe for him to be inside of me anymore, and so they scheduled a C-section for the next morning, and 1 pound, 8 ounces later, 12 3/4 inches, he was born, so 26 weeks. You know, women who have their babies at Riley at that maternity tower are able to stay in the room with their babies and things like that that aren't typically allowed to happen. It's, you know, I just had this very, very fragile baby, and to be able to go down there at midnight or 3 a.m. or whenever I wanted to, even just to lay eyes on him and then go back to my room and take a nap or, you know, do what I needed to do to take care of myself, just gave me that peace of mind. So we were there the rest of the time. He just recovered, and then as he was, you know, having his other obstacles that he was overcoming, he had music therapy. Our occupational therapist was fantastic, and then the respiratory therapist would come in, and sometimes I'd ask the same question day after day, and that's definitely encouraged. The whole care team takes the time to explain why things are like they are or why their plan is that. But also they came in and they just would check in on us and check in on him and just kind of go above and beyond, which is what Riley really is all about. So
we have to provide the very best state-of-the-art medical care for sure. That's a given. But along with that, I think we learn the art of medicine from our children, from parents. And much of that, as I say, is engineered by listening to families and parents and children themselves, and maybe learn to do a better job with the next family and the next, and then hopefully share that and teach that and mentor that to others, and then it ripples. To me, that's what makes Riley Riley.